What's up, awesome YouTubers? Ryan1988 or Justin back here to do a video for you guys. And today I'm going back to my horror movie roots and I'm going to be doing my top 50 favorite horror movies of all time. And like a lot of lists, this might change in the future, but I have a feeling a lot of these films will still be in my top 50 favorite horror movies for a very, very long time. If not, it'll always stay there. But I decided to do my top 50 favorite horror movies because back in June, I did my top 100 favorite movies, which I'm probably going to go back and redo that list because that was really tough for me to do and I forgot movies. But anyway, going back to this, I really wanted to do my top 100 favorite horror movies after that video. But it's taken me a long time to do, and I decided instead of doing my top 100 favorite horror movies, I'm just going to do my top 50 favorite horror movies. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. At the end of the video, I'm going to talk about some honorable mentions that almost made my top 50 list, but didn't. And then real quickly before I get started, one thing is I'm going from 100 to 50, because I think a lot of people know what my favorite horror movie is. And also, there you might see a sequel with its original film in that same kind of time slot. Just because I either think the sequel is just as good as the original, where it could be just one big movie, or I just have a hard time deciding which one I like better. So that is the reason why you'll see some sequels in the same time slot. Now everybody will have their different opinions on this list, and everybody has their own likings when it comes to their top 50. So I'd like to know what your guys' top 50 favorite horror movies are, either in a video response or down below in the comments. So I'm going to get started, guys, and some of these I'll talk into detail about, and some I won't, because I don't want to lose count. But my number one, and I put it sequel with it because I just think it's one big movie, it is a perfect double feature, and that is the original Halloween being my favorite horror movie, but I absolutely love its sequel, Halloween 2. So I love them both. Perfect one big movie in my opinion. It's a great or fantastic double feature when you watch them. So I have to watch 1 and 2 together when I watch these movies. So, and they're perfect to watch in October. So Halloween and Halloween 2, absolutely love them. My number 2, Fright Night, the original. My number 3, Psycho, the original. Love this movie. Number 4, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Rest in peace, Tobe Hooper. You'll be missed. This movie used to be lower on my list, but watching it over and over throughout the years, it's made my number 4. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre. My number 5 and 6 are in the same series, and I had a hard time which one I like better. But over the years, I honestly can put on my number 5 more than the original. I know that's bad to say, but for me, both movies are amazing. Rest in peace, Wes Craven, tongue twister. You're definitely missed. But my number 5 being Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I love that movie because it did something different within the series. You know, we had a lot of sequels that were hit and miss, which I love a lot of the sequels. But the Wes Craven's New Nightmare took that world of Freddy, took that iconic character Freddy Krueger in the series and put it in the real world, and it was creepy, and that's why I love it. My number 6 is the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and I love that movie almost as much as Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I like Wes Craven's New Nightmare slightly better, but the original film I absolutely love. And what I love about that movie is it did something different that slasher movies back then really didn't do. And that is it made it a supernatural slasher movie. You can only see this killer basically throughout your dreams. And if you died in your dreams, you never woke up. So that was something different. So that is my number 6, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Going on, my number 7, The Blair Witch Project. Now, this film I absolutely love this movie. I watch this movie like 2 or 3 times a year. And it used to be lower on my list, but I put it as number 7 because, like I said, I watch this movie 2 or 3 times a year and it never gets old for me. I know a lot of people don't really care for this anymore, but I absolutely love it. So for me, number 7 is this film. Number 8, Suspiria. Love Suspiria. Number 9 is the classic George A. Romero movie, and rest in peace George A. Romero, Night of the Living Dead. Love that movie. Cannot wait for the Criterion. Number 10, another director we lost sadly, and that is Bob Clark, Black Christmas. Love this movie. My number 11 is, again, one that was lower on my list maybe like 2 years ago, but I've seen this movie over and over again since then, and I still love this movie and actually like it better. I've always loved this movie, but growing up, watching it, and getting older, I appreciate it a little bit more, and that is Carrie, the original. Number 12, The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. I love this movie. You know, this used to be like my third or fourth John Carpenter favorite movie of his, but it's grown to be my second. Love that. Number 13, the original Scream. Rest in peace, Wes Craven. I love Scream. Still one of the best horror movies ever made. I've loved it ever since I first saw it back in '96 on VHS, renting it from a local video store. Love Scream. And I love the sequels overall, but the first film for me is the best. Let's see, I think this is my number 14. My second favorite zombie movie of all time, Return of the Living Dead. Amazing. Love that film. Rest in peace, Dan O'Bannon. Yeah, Dan O'Bannon. Yeah, just want to make sure I get the name right. My number 15, and again, I put it sequel next to the first film because I can either go one way where it's kind of just a huge continuation, but the original film kind of, the first 13 minutes of the sequel kind of remake the original. So it's either continuation for me, or I go back and forth which one I like better. But I put the original Evil Dead and its sequel, Evil Dead 2, as my number 15. Love them both, though. My number 16 is my favorite werewolf movie of all time, American Werewolf in London. My number 17 is the original Child's Play. Now, this is the only film... the only film where I put... sorry about that. The only film where I put the original film on the list. I do love a lot of the sequels, but for me, the original film is the best in my opinion. My number 18, the original Poltergeist. Love this movie. And a lot of people argue it's a Steven Spielberg movie. Tobe Hooper directed the film. Just saying, but I love Steven Spielberg. My number 19 is my third favorite zombie movie and my second favorite George Romero film, and that is Dawn of the Dead. The original, of course. Number 20, Alien. Love this movie. Number 21, again, I did something where I put the original, but I also put a sequel because, in my opinion, the original film is one of the creepiest horror movies of all time, and the creepiest horror movie in the series, and I love that film. I've always loved it ever since I first saw it. Its sequel that I picked is my favorite sequel with one of my favorite horror movie icons in it. Because if you remember, the original film did not have this character, only at the end. But number 21 is going to be the original Friday the 13th, but I'm also putting in Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, because that is my favorite one, with Jason Voorhees being the killer. So Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th Part 6 at my 21 spot. Number 22, my favorite Rob Zombie film, and again I go back and forth which Rob Zombie film I like more, but I love this film, House 1000 Corpses. Number 23, The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog. Number 24, Jaws. Now some people would say this isn't a horror movie. I disagree. I think it is a horror movie. It's a different type of horror movie. It's more of a realistic horror film because there's shark attacks every once in a while that we hear about, which is definitely one of the creepiest ways to die, in my opinion, is by being eaten by a shark. But Jaws I love. Number 25, yes, number 25 is my favorite Linda Blair movie, and that is Hell Night. Very entertaining movie. I love this film. But number 26 is my second favorite Linda Blair movie, and it came really close to being my number one. But like I said, I find Hell Night a little bit more entertaining. But that doesn't take away from this classic, The Exorcist. Love that movie. Number 27 is my favorite, or not my favorite, my second favorite vampire film, The Lost Boys. Love that movie. My number 28 is a new horror movie that has made my list, and it deserves to be on my list. Some people might disagree. Some people might agree. Either way, I love it, and I've seen this movie 3 times now, and for me, it's a modern masterpiece, and that is the new Stephen King's It. This is Chapter 1, obviously. Chapter 2 we're getting in 2 years. And I love the original film. It is in my top 100 favorite horror movies, but not in my top 50, and for me, again, I've seen this movie 3 times, and I always love this film. So, It, number 28. Number 29 and number 30 are directed by the same director, but I've always liked this one slightly more, Witchboard. I grew up with this, rented it at my local video store on VHS constantly. So, Witchboard. And number 30, Night of the Demons, the original Kevin S. Tenney movie. He directed both of these. Love these films. Number 31. I love this movie. I love all these movies, but this is one of the scariest films that I've seen. And if you have not seen this movie in a long time, I highly recommend going back and watching it because it is still creepy. And that is The Descent. Love that. Number 32, Pet Sematary. My second favorite Stephen King's movie. I love Pet Sematary. Awesome film. I love The Shining, but I'm telling you, it's not on my top 50. I had a hard time with that. I know, blasphemy. Oh no. But I love The Shining as well. But yeah, Pet Sematary and It, love those. Try not to get off track, but my number 33 are going to be 2 horror movies where I love the original, but I love its sequel even slightly more. And, well, not slightly more, almost just as much as the original. But that is going to be Hellraiser and Hellbound Hellraiser 2. I love them both. Let's see, that is number 33. Number 34, Prom Night. Love that. Number 35, The Conjuring. Only the first movie. I love the sequel, not as much as this one, especially when rewatching them recently. But I love The Conjuring. Let's see, 36, the first Jeepers Creepers. Even though I actually really love the second one and I really like the third one, the first film is my favorite. It is still one of the creepiest horror movies I've ever seen. Number 37, again, I love the sequels overall, but the original is the best, Insidious. Number 38, Lords of Salem, my second favorite Rob Zombie film. Like I said though, I go back and forth between House and Lords of Salem, so it might change in the future. But love Lords of Salem. And Devil's Rejects does not make my top 50. It is in my top 100 though. Just had to throw that out there. Again, blasphemy, Justin. Why? Number 39, the original Omen. Love that. I didn't mention the sequels because I do like the sequels overall. The original's the best. Number 40, The Howling. Second favorite werewolf movie. Going on to my last 10. Number 40, I believe 41, The Strangers. Love that. Number 42, Creepshow. Number 43, I love this Wes Craven movie. It probably won't make everybody's top 50 favorite horror movies list, but I love it. Deadly Blessing. Let's see. I believe this is number 44. Yeah, number 44. I believe 44. I had to rethink about that. The Hills Have Eyes, the remake. Now, this is the only remake where it surpasses the original one, in my opinion. That made my top 50. Well, no, actually, I take that back. Stephen King's It, the new one. But this is my second remake where I think it surpasses the original. So, The Hills Have Eyes. And it might be my second favorite remake. Just thinking about that. So, my number, and I'm getting a little bit off track, but number 43 44, I believe. Yeah, 44. 44, yeah. Creature from the Black Lagoon. Or 45. Yeah, number 45. Sorry, guys. My number 45, Creature from the Black Lagoon. I get talking and I lose track. My number 46, I've never seen the original, but I love the American version, The Ring. Number 47, Pumpkinhead. Again, probably not one that would make a lot of people's top 50 favorite horror movies, but it's one of the creepiest movies I've ever seen. Number 48, I want to talk about just a little bit because I absolutely love this movie. Again, a lot of people probably would not put this in their top 50, but if you want a good, slow burning, if you like slow burning horror movies that creep you out just by the little scares, that is Session 9. Love that movie. Number 49, I had to put this slasher movie on my list. My Bloody Valentine. I love that. And number 50. Again, you know, I hear people talk about it, but not as much. Candyman. One of the creepiest horror movies I've ever seen. So that is my top 50 favorite horror movies. Again, it could slightly change in the future. I didn't put The Shining. I love The Shining, don't get me wrong. It's probably my top 70 favorite horror movies. But I think I could watch these ones probably more than The Shining and enjoy them a little bit more. Doesn't take away from The Shining, though. That is an amazing movie, the original. But that was one of my honorable mentions. I just forgot to grab the movie. These are some of my other honorable mentions that I want to go through pretty quick. The first one being The Burning. Then we got Amityville and Amityville 2. Like I said, sometimes I'll put two movies in the same series in the same slot just because I go back and forth which one I like better, but I love both these movies. Then we got Trick or Treat, the 2007 movie. Phantasm, and Phantasm 2, but I forgot that one. My third favorite werewolf movie of all time, Ginger Snaps. Sleepy Hollow. It Follows, love this. And the last honorable mention, Reanimator. Now anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna go. As always, you guys are awesome. You guys rock. In with the positive, out with the negative, and go eat some Skittles. Alright guys, thank ya.